Hi guys, welcome to our channel, and today we are going to answer one of your questions. It'll be up here. Did you have plans professionally drawn up, and how much did it all cost, planning and change of layout, etc.? So basically in today's video we're going to talk about how we work with architects, how we go about the planning, changing of layouts for our past projects, predominantly the house share projects, right? Because we are converting like a big family house into single units, and we'll talk about the costs, we'll talk about the different areas that you have to take note of, and maybe it will be valuable to some of you going forward with your projects.
So if that's of interest to you, slap a like on today's video and make sure you're subscribed. So for the first question, did we have professional plans drawn up? Short answer is yes, we did. In our previous projects, sort of the standard buy-to-let refurb, we didn't need any plans because as long as you change like for like, so you just change the kitchen but it stays where it is, you change the bathroom but it stays where it is, you don't really need an architect for that. But as we progressed and we are changing the layouts of the rooms, which means the kitchen goes from downstairs to the first floor and we are installing en suites, that's when you really need an architect because of several reasons.
So the reason why we use an architect for our bigger projects, it's because of their expertise that they bring to the table. Obviously, on our very first sort of big conversion project, we hired an architect because he was able to show us some creativity in the way he reconfigured the room layout. For example, we had to move a staircase to the loft over to a different side, and it actually helps to expand a whole bedroom. So it made a middle bedroom from a small bedroom into a very big bedroom, and had a space for an ensuite as well.
And we actually never even thought about moving the location of a staircase.
Yeah, because we know when we went to view the property, that staircase was not built according to regulations. So what we had in mind was just to rebuild that staircase, just build it new and wider and not so steep. But when we had the architect come in, he was like, why don't you guys just move the staircase? And we're like, okay. And it doesn't come at a great cost as well to build a new staircase and to patch the holes on the floor above.
Yeah, so it's really about the layout. When you're thinking about converting a normal family house into a HMO, so shared rooms, then you need to comply with certain room sizes. So the architect helps you with which rooms do you have to configure in which way, so you comply with those local HMO rules. And that was something we needed help with in the beginning.
And obviously from an architect, what you get from them is also technical drawings, and that really helps us a lot in terms of, you know, when the contractors come in, the joiners come in to build the stud works, they know exactly to the millimeter how big or how wide that, you know, stud wall needs to be, how thick the walls are, and what kind of materials they need. Because normally an architect will specify, oh, you need, you know, fireboard, soundproof board, wool, or, you know, for all the insulation and stuff like that. And also on top of that, we also
the moisture board.
The moisture board, yeah.
In the bathroom we need the moisture board.
Exactly, yeah. And also we needed to get building control for this type of house conversions, because we are moving, you know, pipe works, we are moving electrics, we need a full-blown fire alarm system. So at that point, it was our first time going into this like conversion project. So we don't know exactly the details, we are not trained to do that, we're not qualified, so we had to rely on someone who has the expertise to do that, a professional. And from the first project, we learn, you know, where do fire panels go, where do the call points go, where do all the fire alarms go, and emergency lights and all that, all things that you normally won't think of in a house share project like this.
It's also about, because we're opening up walls, so you need to know which lintels do you need, which support is needed, and the building control needs to know that on a written document, so that they can then safely say, okay, this has been built according to specification, and they can then issue with a final building control certificate after you have done the works. We didn't need planning drawings because what we do is all under permitted development, and we are currently not going down the planning route, which means if we were to submit a planning application, that is another set of drawings, because the planning department wants to see different information than the building control department. On our recent projects, on the conversion number 4, we did actually need to go for planning because we needed a external staircase, which was unfortunately rejected. We did have to engage our architect because he knew how to submit it to the local planning department, but sadly in the end it got rejected. But we just went to plan B and did a different escape route, but that's for a different video.
And also for submission of planning apps, that of course come at an extra cost on top of the regular drawing plans cost. So when we're talking about cost, different architects, they have different sort of fee structure. One that we worked a lot with is he first do a feasibility study. So he will come and see the property, he will measure every nook and cranny, every wall in the property, and then he will see if it's feasible enough to be converted and how many bedrooms you can get out of it. Is it 4 or 5 or 6 bedrooms?
The architect helps you identifying all the nooks and crannies, for example the storage under the cupboard that can be used, or in our case where the staircase can be shifted, so then you have that additional space, what can you do with it? And they try to work around brick walls, so they don't want to open up that many brick walls, but then if it's needed they also show you, well, if we take away this wall then you could create this layout, and that's really all in the feasibility study. There are no fancy details on there yet, it's just on a floor plan level, what could you do with the property. Cost wise, it's probably around 800 to 1000, 1200 depending on your architect, and then you have to see are they VAT registered or not, so that is either on top of that or not.
And some architect obviously draw plans with the building regs drawings already, some don't. So whenever you go to an architect for a quote, make sure you understand their fee structure.
Just ask them, what is your fee structure? What are you gonna charge me for? What are your stages of services? And usually they probably come out with 3 phases in our experience. That is the feasibility study as one, the second is the building control, and the third is planning. And it's always funny, we get that question a lot, like can I just go for the building control and not for the feasibility? But in our experience, well, the architect first needs to measure the whole house before they can put details onto that plan. So in our experience, the feasibility study is like the basic level, and then you can go for the other 2.
I think at the end of the day, it's also up to you how you build your relationship with your architect, or people in your team, because there is always room for negotiation. Obviously, if you have done enough projects with someone before, there might be some cost savings there. Maybe you can negotiate for a discount because you already know how a project work, or if you are buying like a similar property with similar layouts, for example our 3rd conversion project, that is literally a copy of the first project just minus the loft. So on that project we actually save costs. We didn't engage an architect, we just drew the plans ourselves. We literally copy every line and every wording on the original plans for the first project and use it on our 3rd. So that is a tip there.
Well, it was great fun because it means I can play around with my laser measure device and I walk around and do the job of the architect, which was fun. It's like a couple of hours of work when you do it for the first time. Try to get every little nook and cranny, just like an architect would do. But we ended up drawing our own plans for that because we could take the elements from the first drawing that we had and put it into our drawings. It takes time. It's maybe a bit frustrating at times when you think, well, that should be easy to do, but then you're thinking, you're maybe overthinking. But we got there in the end.
You can go check out our previous videos where we walk you through like the project updates and walk you through the project that we actually did, where we moved the kitchen from downstairs to first floor and also moving the stairs. So go check it out up here. And talking about drawings, I suppose it kind of come across pretty easily for us because of our engineering background, would you say?
Well, easy. It's a different software. It's actually, we're gonna put a link in the comments below about the website that we're using, but because I have used CAD software in my previous engineering career, so it was sort of an easier entry for me to use that software, and you're also using it. The fun part is when you put in your beds and your wardrobes and you play around with the actual layout, how you're gonna use that space. Then you're thinking, should I put that tall wardrobe there? So you have to have some imagination. It's not just using the software itself.
So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, and if you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments below. We'll make sure to pick them up and maybe we'll make a video out of it.
On that note, see you on the next one. So slap a like on today's video.
That's great, that's great, that's great.
No. That's not our style.
Okay, do it again.
Actually, I have very cold feet. But anyway.